Coming up on Tech News today, we dive deep into Microsoft's keynote to find the actual hidden announcements. Also, MySpace. Yeah, MySpace has an announcement at CES. You might be interested. And, of course, gadget bonanza, all kinds of folding laptops and collapsing all-in-ones and glass behavior on laptops. Coming up on Tech News today.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, January 10th, 2012. And we forget what day it is because we're live from CES. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 30% off your new account for 3 months, go to Squarespace.com and use offer code TNT1. And by Ford, featuring voice-activated sync app link. Now you can control select smartphone apps with your voice so you keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Check it out in the 2012 Ford Fiesta and at Ford.com/technology. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz, Akhtar.
Jay Snell's over there behind the controls. And
We promise he really is.
and
I'm Nicole Lee.
yeah, you're Nicole Lee.
Hey,
I was like,
Nicole
do I
Lee.
say my name now? No, now.
When do I say it? When do I say it?
Soon.
So we are, of course, as you can tell, live at CES 2012. First official day of the show floor being open. Everyone's out there having a good time, milling around, hurting their feet, and seeing new gadgets. Last night, the show kicked off, as it has for the past 14 years, with a Microsoft keynote. Steve Ballmer and Ryan Seacrest, as usual, took the stage.
As usual.
Yeah. Actually, the Ryan Seacrest part was kind of weird.
Yeah, it
Now,
was
they've
really
done this
weird.
before. They did it with Bill Gates. I remember I attended
Yeah.
that one with Conan O'Brien.
Yes, I do remember that.
Interviewing Bill Gates. This time it was Ryan Seacrest interviewing Steve Ballmer. And they did a few things to acknowledge that this is their last keynote. Or Gary Shapiro, the president and CEO of the CES, says it's a pause for Microsoft. He's in. I don't know if he's in
Can
denial.
he press play again? Like,
That's-
why is it a pause?
Well, I mean, that's possibly what Microsoft told them.
Oh,
Microsoft
possibly.
can either retire and come back.
Sure. Don't call it a
Sports
comeback.
figures do it all
Don't
the
call
time.
it a
Yeah.
comeback.
Yeah. So we don't really know.
But they showed a mashup of Microsoft keynotes from the past 14 years, this being their 15th keynote. And it was kind of, auto-tune, dorkiness, lots of sweaters. Had a lot of Bill Gates, a lot of Steve Ballmer, just talking about stuff. You'll see all the different outfits and all the different screens
The Rock.
and all the different celebrities.
Shaquille O'Neal is in there.
This one's
Yeah,
all
that
right.
was sad. Hey, Justin
Justin
Timberlake.
Timberlake, who we'll
Hey,
be talking
he's
about
at
later.
MySpace now. We'll talk
Hey,
about him. There's
Conan.
They also, a lot of people said this was a pretty boring keynote. They also brought out a choir to sing the posts on Twitter as they are made about the Microsoft keynote. I didn't hear them sing, "I am asleep, this is a boring keynote." Did anyone else?
I wasn't even aware this was happening, quite honestly. I saw this later on. I really think they just had a time obligation. And they're like, we just have to kill time.
But then they went long.
They try to be safe with the tweets. Tweets are short. You'd think it'd be faster.
It just seemed. People gave me a little bit of a hard time. I said on MacBreak Weekly, I thought that this whole thing was sort of weird and strange. It's not that they're not talented. I don't see what they were doing there and why it's cool to read tweets because it's just the same keynotes over and over. CES.
Honestly, the best way to experience the Microsoft keynote is to go watch the download of Mary Jo Foley and Paul Thurrott providing commentary. It'll get you through it.
It'll get you through the tweet
If you
choir.
really need to see it. Here are some of the things that they did mention. There weren't a lot of announcements. They showed a lot of stuff we already know about, like Windows Phone 7 and Microsoft Xbox 360. But they showed off interactive TV using the Kinect, and they had Sesame Street as the example, where you could throw coconuts into a storyline, and it would change the storyline. So you just motion.
So interactive television,
Yeah.
especially for educational programming, right?
Kind of a choose your own adventure. If you throw the coconuts, one thing happens. If you don't, they don't.
So this uses the Kinect,
Yeah.
or just
That uses the Kinect and some Microsoft software to allow you to interact with a show Android. What are you shaking your
I'm
head
just
for?
thinking
You don't-
Sesame Street. Okay, so who's the audience for Sesame Street?
Well, but
Little
it's
children.
not just Sesame Street. They just
Hey,
use that as
you
an example.
asked me why I'm shaking
If
my
it had
head.
been
I'm telling you why.
CSI, you'd be
that's-
complaining
but
about
Sesame-
Just ask me why I'm shaking my head. I have a little kid. He's gonna throw stuff at the TV. He doesn't know the connect from a soft toy or a coconut
You
that happens
choose
to
a
be.
real
in the-
coconut and throw it in a TV.
The
But-
thing about Sesame Street, though, is that you're supposed to be, even though the people on the other side of the TV can't hear you, you're supposed to be counting along
Yeah.
or learning your Spanish or
Sure.
all sorts of things on Sesame Street. There's nothing I would get from being like, CSI, because it's like that's a whole
no,
different
wait,
experience.
CSI could be a good application, right? When they're looking around the room, you're like, where is it? You're like, over
you
there.
point, and then they look in the corner, and they either
And
find
they're like,
the clue or they
oh.
don't.
That's not how CSI works.
Okay, CSI was a horrible
CSI,
example.
that's the new, the
Yeah,
eyes for
sure.
interactive.
Yeah. They also mentioned that the Windows App Store is going to open for business late in February. A minor announcement, but at least some actual information. And I think the big announcement, Connect API for Windows, will come out on February 1st. So it comes out of beta, goes legit. If you're on the beta right now, you'll get to use the beta through June, but you'll have to eventually give that up or pay for the real API. And you're going to have to buy Windows-specific Connect hardware, which I don't understand why that's necessary.
Yeah, when you already, if you already have an Xbox 360, you would assume that you could just use the Connect that you have.
Yeah, I don't want to have to buy a second Connect.
Yeah, that
so
sounds,
I'll be interested to find more details about that. Qualcomm had a keynote this morning. They kicked off the morning keynotes on the first day of CES. CEO Paul Jacobs took the stage with Grover, more Sesame Street. They're all over this place. They announced
stop
that
the Muppets.
they're funding a $10 million prize to spur development of a wireless medical tool for consumers styled after the tricorders in Star Trek.
I believe it also has to be fun and easy to use. It's part of the prize conditions.
You have
get
to be able to diagose yourself with it
Yeah.
without being a
Oh.
doctor.
Okay.
It's I mean, it's a good
been
idea.
There's been a tricorder made before. There was a company that made it in the early part of the 2000s, late 90s, early part of the 2000s.
Was it good?
It was fun, easy to use.
Okay.
I mean, but that'd be a great advance in medical technology. It's non-invasive. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The bigger announcement for technology, they announced the Snapdragon S4 MPQ 8064 processor for smart TVs. It's a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core CPU inside the new Lenovo K91 that we've been talking about. Adreno 320 graphics and Wi-Fi connectivity built in as well. They also showed it running Windows 8. Not the TV, they showed the chip running Windows 8. In fact, Steve Ballmer in the Microsoft keynote last night was playing around on a laptop, showing off Windows 8, showing stuff we already had seen, but then revealed, I've been running this on a new Qualcomm ARM-based processor.
And that Lenovo television we were looking at the other day was running Android, but that was also using this chip, this Qualcomm.
This Qualcomm
So now,
chip,
now by
That's the K91 that I just mentioned.
that little misstep you said about Windows 8 being on the TV, I would just imagine that now, because if it runs on ARM and Qualcomm's making these things, why not put a media center style thing right on a television? It just seems like it opens the doors to a lot more things, because a lot more television companies are putting in processors, and Qualcomm is just they're doing really well.
Yeah, well, the media center aspect, I don't want Windows 8 running on my television necessarily, but for any other reason, but the media center
Or
could
like
make
or like
sense.
the
See, it's probably too much cost. It's a
the-
lot of overhead just to run.
the Ubuntu thing that just came out, if that could be rewritten for ARM, or I think you can run Linux on
You don't
ARM.
like
Yeah,
the
you
idea
can.
of a Metro interface on your TV?
Touchscreen. So I have to get up and walk over to the TV, and
No, but what if that
Or
was a
you can
controller?
use it, yeah.
Yeah.
for the media center, yeah, I could see that.
Like if there was a
Pretty- I
Connect,
think it'd look
if
pretty
there
good.
A
was
little browsing,
if there
maybe.
was a Connect compatibility with Windows 8, you could just say it. TV, turn on channel 1.
Yeah.
you
Let's
know.
be clear. What we're talking about right now is much more interesting than anything that has actually been announced.
That's,
All right, then.
That's a shame.
But I like the idea.
Making up the news.
We're hoping-
CES
Yeah.
2012. All
We
right.
make up the news, so you don't have
So
to.
CS 2013 will be about this.
They also talked about a Wi-Fi alliance for a Wi-Fi connected display built into Qualcomm chips. Everybody wants to get wireless delivery of video to television, so they're working on that as well. Sony had a press conference last night. Iyaz, you attended that. What are some of the highlights there?
Will Smith was a good highlight. So we have Howard
So
Stringer.
it was like the Microsoft keynote.
It was pretty dull. I mean, so we have Howard Stringer come out, and he's basically talking about very little. And there was a lot of 3D stuff, a lot of put on your 3D glasses now and watch a trailer for Men in Black 3, and that's why there was a very stilted conversation between Will Smith and Barry Sonnenfeld and Howard Stringer doing bad jokes. But the real products they were showing were that Xperia Ion phone that we talked about yesterday. the Bloggy Live, which is a streaming camcorder. The Bloggy is their little camcorder device, but you can stream live video over Wi-Fi, or you can attach it with an app on a phone. It tethers it only to that phone and this camera, so it's very limited tethering. It's an interesting idea if you still have a camcorder and you're not streaming from your phone directly. And then something called the crystal display, which is a different take on televisions in general. So instead of having pixels, micro, tiny little LEDs. So like you've seen them like in giant sports displays.
Right.
They look, like just giant LEDs. These are very small. I didn't get a chance to see them, but apparently it's supposed to be like great contrast ratios, and it's supposed to have wider color gamut and all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, because you're using the LED as a pixel instead of as the backlight.
Right.
So your black level is black. It's whatever's not behind the pixel.
I'm
right?
very curious to see what it looks like in real life, because I'm sure if you get close enough, you're going to see the tiny LEDs. I don't know how small they are.
Not meant as a consumer device?
This thing is just a concept device.
All
it's
right.
not meant for prime time just yet. Not even close.
They also showed off some more Google TV stuff. Anything fancy there?
Well, the big change on Google TV was that the remote. They didn't announce what kind of processors they're using in their Blu-ray set-top box or what they're using in their new Google TV box. But the remote control is completely different. Instead of it being like PlayStation style with a keyboard at the bottom, it's more of a candy bar style with a big touchpad on it. You can flip it over and there's a backlit keyboard. And it also has a microphone for voice search. So if you have a Google TV, you can say search for whatever. So and it also supports gestures. So it's more. A lot of the television manufacturers are doing that, so I think it's a nice little addition. The voice search, to me, that's a big deal now, because I like that. That's how I use my Android device all the time.
And did you see that demo? Did they demonstrate that? Did it look like it worked?
Of course they didn't demo that.
Yeah, of course
they
not.
had a slide.
Now, Google TV coming to a set-top box and a Blu-ray player for Sony.
That's right.
Not just for the televisions. That's interesting to me.
Well,
Because
yeah.
up till now, Sony is like, we only have it in the televisions.
Right. I guess they're expanding a bit on their Blu-ray players. Sony's always been doing this. They want one box. They want it to be a Sony, and it should do everything.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit more flexible, so that way if you didn't have a Sony TV, God forbid, you don't have a Sony TV, you could use a Sony Google TV box instead, or a Blu-ray player, and still have that same functionality into your, dumb TV.
We got more CES news and a little non-CES news to get to, but I want to take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Squarespace.com. A fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog if you're looking to get into covering all this kind of gadgets, or maybe you've got a startup or a company, you want to start selling some gadgets. Squarespace, a great way to get started with a website. You can optimize it however you want. Use their WYSIWYG. Don't have to know a single line of code and use it that way. Or if you're into HTML, you're into CSS, then you can actually go in and tweak the code if you want. Of course, I can hear them telling you about it on their demo there at Squarespace.com. But don't take my word for it. Go try it out. You don't have to use a credit card. You don't have to do anything other than sign up. Name your blog, and you're on your way. You can import your old blog, try it out that way, and if you decide to keep it, you'll get 30% off for the first 3 months when you use the offer code TNT1. Squarespace.com, a great way to get started in blogging. Go there and check it out now, Squarespace.com. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Back to the CES news, and Sarah and I actually Nicole was there as well, got to go to the press event last night called Digital Experience, and here's how we felt at the end of walking around the 175 booths.
So Sarah, we just spent a couple of grueling hours plowing through not even 20%.
Man,
what's going
grueling
on
the
here.
feet maybe, because this is a really big room with a lot of ground to cover, but certainly fun.
So we saw a lot of great products. We started with Lenovo. We saw the Yoga, pretty impressive. We also saw their all-in-one, very impressive. But frankly, after that, it starts to tail off. A lot of interesting things, but nothing that really stuck in my mind.
Yeah, the kind of integrated app trend is alive and well, and everybody's doing it nicely, but it's like they're all running the same Angry Birds demo, which I
Yes.
go, okay.
I don't know how many
all
times we
right.
saw Angry Birds.
Yeah, it's just,
or-
come on, do something different, because you all look like you're doing the same thing. I enjoyed the Neo TV. I thought that was sort of an interesting
Yeah,
Roku
kind of a Roku
alternative.
competitor. Very cool, from Netgear.
The Spectre over at HP was quite nice.
The HP Spectre, which we saw the teaser video for, a little bit of expensive, $1,300.
$1,400, I think.
$1,399.
Yeah.
And And but beautiful. I mean, HP definitely
it was very nice.
with a good design.
Heavy
there.
on the glass, Gorilla Glass,
and,
in a
and
good way.
lightweight because of it. So only around, well, not incredibly lightweight, but you would think, like you said, you would think it would.
It seems
heavier.
like it would be a little bit heavier.
All in all, we saw a lot of the things that were announced on Monday, and this is Monday night when we're recording this.
Mm-hmm.
So not a lot of surprises. That's my take. We're seeing exactly what we expected: tablets, televisions, and ultrabooks.
Well, the Lumia 900, for example, it's cool, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, wow, look at this phone.
Same for the HTC Titan.
Yeah, I mean, the Lumia
2 Windows phones.
in particular was announced officially today, but not a surprise. The Titan was very nice.
Yeah.
Really liked the form factor on that guy. And the camera, the last episode of TNT, we all sort of said, what do you need 16 megapixels for? The lens is going to be tiny. It's just not worth it. It's actually bigger than I would have thought.
We don't know if the sensor's any bigger, though.
That's true.
They didn't really have a good answer for me.
No.
But, all in
They're
all,
good at that.
enjoyable, not groundbreaking. Time for us to get some food.
Let's do that.
All right, we'll see you.
CES is nothing but toys and dreams, says Web9 in the chat room. That pretty much sums it up. We touched really briefly at the beginning there on the Lenovo's.
Yeah.
Those were the two coolest things that I saw last night. That Idea Center A720 is the one that folded down into a kind of a flat touchscreen that you could use on a Surface. It's very sturdy. In fact, it's a little hard to get down, but the touchscreen was a little laggy. Otherwise, I liked the form factor. I liked the idea behind it, and it's the right price. Only $12.99 for a 27-inch screen, all-in-one from Lenovo. Not bad. Also, that Lenovo IdeaPad Yoga 13-inch tablet. We've seen convertibles before.
I felt like you liked it more than I did.
I just thought it worked so well. I've seen those I've wanted that for a long time, but they're always a little wonky.
Can you
the
explain
way they transform? This one was perfectly natural. You just bend it back.
It has a 360-degree hinge. I was reading about it because after you mentioned it, I was like, "What is this thing?" And you take your laptop, you keep pushing back the screen, and nothing breaks.
Right.
I just like that. These are limited nowadays. The hinges are limited just to have a full viewing angle, and then you can turn it.
There's something weird though about having my keyboard facing down on a Surface. Now, obviously, here it wouldn't be a big deal, but laptops and tablets are made to be so mobile, and so I've got one of my guys down on all sorts of surfaces, and what if there's water, or you're at a cafe, or it's kind of dirty? It just seems to me that over time, your machine would break down if your keyboard's exposed on a regular basis to the bottom.
Yeah, because it's just always sitting on grimy stuff.
Well, I guess the idea behind that is when you're folding it back like that, you're not going to be putting it on the table, doing this with the tablet.
Right.
You're holding it like that and swiping it. I guess that's kind of the idea behind that.
I suppose that's true. What was the what stuff stuck out for you, Nicole, when you were walking around?
It was very similar. I thought, I was thinking like there were all these really cool things that you mentioned. The Lenovo IdeaPad Yoga. You saw the Lumia 900. It's kind of interesting. The same thing. The Titan. There was the Droid 4. It's kind of interesting. The new Motorola Droid. But it's a lot of improvements. Nothing really stood out to me as something really groundbreaking, and I guess that was kind of my takeaway from the event. Really,
seemed to be everybody's, yeah.
Because every year at CES there are all these different press companies. What's the big thing? What's the best of CES, as it were? And I have a hard time thinking of what was the best thing I saw. It's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I missed the days of the UMPC.
Yeah.
That was at least that was something new versus Ultrabooks. Anything that we haven't touched on already that stuck out for you, Sarah?
I gotta say, these events are always interesting because you can stump people, but when you go to all these booths, and all of the manufacturers have their spokesperson. They all scramble to make sure that you talk to the person who can say it all the best.
Right.
So it's very easy. You listen to all these specs and you go, "That's really cool. That's really cool." But really, it seems like this is a year for evolution. We were actually at Pandora's booth last night, and I like Pandora, so it's like, okay, what do they have going on? They have nothing that's new and cool. They're just trying to roll out more into the automotive industry, but that was their big announcement last year. So it seems like a big evolution for a lot of TV set makers and app makers and putting everything together.
I guess the other thing that we should mention, Transformer Prime
yeah.
Ultrabook running ice cream sandwich with the new Tegra 3 quad-core processor inside, 1.3 gigahertz, 1 gigabyte of DDR2 RAM, 10-inch display, 32 gig and 64 gig models available for pre-order now at $500 and $600 respectively. And then if you'd like to have it transform, you got to pay an extra $150 for that docking station with the keyboard, but that has an extra battery in it that'll bring the battery life up to about 18 hours. Tegra 3 is interesting on its own.
Yeah.
We've talked before about how the fact that it has the 5th core that can save you battery life by running isolated when you're doing low-level stuff, and then when you start to need more computing power, the quad core will kick in. They also announced that they have some display management built into the chip that's able to turn off the backlight selectively based on the pixels that are being used, so that your backlight isn't constantly on, draining power out of the battery as well.
Yeah, I was about to say that we saw a lot more, that's an ice cream sandwich device. We also saw, I saw the Lenovo Idea Tab S2, and that's a ice cream sandwich tablet, and that's sort of coming, we're seeing more and more tablets and devices running ice cream sandwich, essentially.
Yeah, there was a $169 ViewSonic running ice cream sandwich
I saw that as well.
Yeah. All right, on to the last of our CES news. We put all the TV service announcements together, kicking off with Panasonic and MySpace, partnering up on MySpace TV. Yeah, Justin Timberlake did the announcement. It lets you chat with friends, share shows and internet videos, and discover what's popular among other MySpace TV viewers, built right into the Panasonic Viera line, launching this spring. And what content are you going to be able to watch? They don't know, because it doesn't sound like they have any deals made. The way they presented it was, this is going to be like cable television on the internet, that they're going to go out, they're going to make deals with Viacom, they're going to make deals with CBS, they're going to make deals with Comcast Universal, and they're going to have packages available over the internet, just like DirecTV, just like Dish, that are available nationwide, but they don't have any of those deals made. Time's a ticking. They need to make those deals by spring.
The other thing is, even if they have the content, you're going to be able to share your likes and dislikes via MySpace. So that's how many people are left on that. Or would you even, let's say you actually could have television via the internet, would you start joining MySpace just for that? Like,
no.
I would probably get TV over the internet. I probably wouldn't be on MySpace very often.
Well, MySpace is hoping that this will spur people to come back to MySpace because they got a different direction and they know that people love to talk about this sort of stuff socially.
Yeah.
But I have other avenues to do that now. There's no incentive for me to go to MySpace just to tell Nicole that I really like the show and share a video clip with her.
I'll never see that post because I'm not on MySpace.
There you go. Simple TV also came out. Iyaz, you were pretty taken by this.
Okay, so the Simple TV is it's kind of like a DVR. It's got a single tuner in it, but it doesn't have like an HDMI out. It'll stream to your streaming box. So if you have like a Roku or a similar device,
Roku, iPad, Boxy, and Google TV.
So if you have those devices in your house, you can have this thing acting as a DVR. So instead of having, I have some pretty convoluted setups in my house.
Only for over the air, right?
That's right. Well, if you have, I guess, clear.
QAM.
I always mix that.
Right.
QAM. If you have that access,
QAM.
you can always get those things right into this box. You have to provide your own hard drive. To get these videos normally to your streaming box, you have to do a lot of tricks. And this kind of eliminates that. But it's like $150. It does have an electronic program guide. You got to pay $5 a month for that. And it's an interesting step. It's supposed to be for cord cutters. Like, and I could see this fitting a lot easier because, again, you can do a very complicated setup to do the same kind of thing. And this makes it a lot easier.
You've cut the cord, Sarah. Would this be something you'd integrate into your home setup, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I have yet to buy an OTA antenna.
Uh-huh.
So that's the next project. But yeah, if I have any sort of DVR capability for a pretty low price point, I'm absolutely interested in that.
A few more announcements. Comcast announced their app for streaming while at home on an iPad. Also, Xbox and Samsung TV, the TV Anywhere initiative. I think they're calling it AnyPlay, is out now for triple play HD customers in Denver and Nashville. But then you can stream any channel in your subscription as long as you're on the same home network that your cable television is on. Samsung's 2012 smart TVs are going to have DirecTV built in without a set-top box. They'll use a server to access your DVR in another room, so you don't have to add a box to every television. Roku is bringing their streaming devices to the UK and Ireland, available for pre-order now. So if you're in one of those countries and you're tired of hearing us talk about the Roku all the time as an option, well, now it's an option. And Vizio announced the VAP 430 Stream Player, a set-top box with Google TV built in, but they're doing a little bit of their own layer on top of it, providing access to the Internet App Plus ecosystem that Vizio provides for their internet-connected
It's kind of
TVs.
overwhelming how many cable alternatives for people who want to consume content we are seeing.
Yeah.
They're either built into a TV, they're in some sort of proprietary box, they're a mixture of the two, they're a new Roku stick. I mean, it's clear that cable subscriptions aren't good enough for so many people that finally manufacturers are having to pay attention.
This is a pattern I've seen at CES over and over again, which is you have everyone getting into an arena like this and throwing stuff against the wall, and you'll have a year where everybody does it, no one does it well, nothing really catches on. The next year, fewer people do it, they get a little better, and then the third year is when somebody, not always Apple, sometimes it's another company, but often, it's Apple, like with a tablet, comes in and does it right, and all of a sudden now that's a real market. And we've seen it happen with tablets. We've seen it happen with netbooks, although then that market kind of went away. But I'd say Asus was the one who won the netbook race there. We did not see it happen with UMPCs.
No.
What's your bet, before we move on to our non-CES story, what's your bet for internet-connected TV services and Ultrabooks? Will they succeed in 2 years? Will somebody have cracked it? Or are they going to be like UMPCs and they'll just be gone?
Well, I don't think Ultrabooks really have to prove themselves. I think that they're in the market for a certain person. I don't think it sort of remains to be seen whether Ultrabooks
You're using
are here
a
to
MacBook
stay.
Air, so that makes sense.
I think you know what I mean.
No, I do.
It's not as if it's like a proof of concept. Is the Ultrabook actually going to be around next year? I think that they will. As far as internet-connected TVs, I am very gung-ho on this whole idea. I want television alternatives, and I welcome more options, although some of the stuff that we've seen, I don't think we're going to see next year.
I think for Ultrabooks, same kind of thing Sarah's saying. Like, they're just thinner, lighter notebooks. They're
Yeah.
not that. If it was a new form factor like the UMPC, that was a kind of a big test. Do you want to spend a lot of money and have a tiny screen and a lousy keyboard and no battery life? Hard sell. But the Ultrabook that standard's supposed to be a little bit different. As for the TV app stuff, this stuff's been around for a while. It's been like 3 years, and it still sucks. Like, this stuff is out there, and they're all fragmented, but you don't know from television manufacturer to manufacturer. You have like 40 different options, different skins. Per year, Samsung has different like styles of UI. Like, just even individual companies. I'm waiting for some company to figure this out, because I still don't think that people go, oh, I'm going to take my TV, I'm going to put it online. Because when they see an Ethernet dongle or a Wi-Fi enabled television, I don't think people are even noticing that. They're still attaching a set-top box.
Honestly, I mean, again, I have to agree with you about the Ultrabook, because Ultrabook to me is just like a thinner laptop, and there's nothing really groundbreaking in that sense. But in terms of internet-connected television, I think the big problem with it is really the content side of it. For example, Hulu Plus is ridiculous because it's different from the Hulu.com on the website. There are some things you can get on one, you can get on the other. I mean, it's all have to do with agreements with content providers. The NBCs of the world, the CBSs of the world, and some of them they don't even have content on Hulu or Netflix or anything, because they have these very restricted, old-fashioned, way of thinking about content. And until somebody breaks a deal with them saying, hey, you guys, you have to get into this now or risk losing your audience, I think we're years away, honestly.
I think in Hulu's case too, Hulu Plus on my television, the UI is a nightmare compared to some of the stuff that I can access on my computer I can't access via my Roku box, for example, which is what Nicole's saying. But the UI is worse on my TV. I mean, at least get those two.
At least get the UI right.
To seem more similar.
Yeah.
I think Ultrabooks are going to follow the netbook pattern. They're going to be very popular for a couple of years, and then they're just going to fade away. going to be replaced by something else.
Megabook.
And then I think
Megabook.
nothing internet-connected TV is going to.
20-inch laptops.
Nothing internet-connected TV is going to survive. None of the things you're seeing unveiled at CES you're going to remember in 2 years. But internet-connected televisions as a thing are going to survive. It's just going to be brand new stuff that's going to make that work. All right, let's finish up with Google fellow Amit Singhal announcing Search Plus Your World, a new way to highlight private social network content on your Google search page. If you're logged in, you'll see search results based on your networks show up in special areas on the page. If you're not logged in, it will still look for public stuff off of Google+. Now, this sounds like a great thing. Google+ built in, they can take advantage of it, give you little extra search results. Who's going to mind, right? Everyone. Because they're not including Twitter or Facebook or MySpace or Friendster or any other social network other than Google+. And Twitter not only complained on Twitter, but also put out a statement saying that people, publishers, news organizations, and Twitter users would suffer from not being able to quickly see tweets in search results. They say in the statement, as we've seen time and time again, news breaks first on Twitter. As a result, Twitter accounts and tweets are often the most relevant results, and they think that it's bad for the internet. Several other people have weighed in on this and agreed, and not just from social networks, people that are outside of that. Google fellow Ben Gomes was asked by All Things D about the inclusion of only Google+. He said, the key thing here is we only have access to content on Google. We're open to other types of content, but in order to provide secure and consistent access, we can only provide what's in Google, where we know the privacy settings and have the relevant graph and signals.
Okay. My biggest problem here is that it's opt-out. The opt-out part of it is like their big misstep, and that's something that they should know from Facebook's misstep.
When you say opt-out, explain what you mean.
I mean that if you are logged in to Google, so you actually have to be logged in for any of the stuff to show up, but that makes sense.
Sure.
If you're logged into Google, you will begin to see these Google Plus search results unless you go into your settings and say, no, I don't want to see these kind of search results. I'd like to strip these out of my Google experience. So you have the option to do that, but a lot of people aren't going to. Mm-hmm. And so they are just going to see a bunch of Google Plus results in a variety of searches that now just sort of permeate their experience, and that's why people are upset. If it was opt-in, I would have much less problem with this.
I don't think that that's my problem per se. It's to me, it's the sort of idea that you can't include Twitter and Facebook. There's plenty of public pages on Twitter and Facebook that Google can crawl. Why aren't they including them? Google Plus will still be more relevant in the search, but it's public internet. I like the fact that they're including more things in my search results that are relevant, as long as they are relevant.
But
don't leave stuff out.
I think it's easier for Google, because you're saying Twitter and Facebook because those are the two other big competitors that come to mind, right?
Right.
But if you include those, then you sort of have to include a variety of other social experiences.
Well, it's just like the web. You include everything.
Okay, but
if it's public.
As social networks continue to roll out, that would be something that Google would have to continue to stay on top of.
I think they could, though. I mean, they do the entire web.
Right.
Why couldn't they do this?
But didn't Google used to have a deal for the Twitter fire hose that we get more real-time content? When they introduced Plus, or they launched it, they dropped that deal, so they weren't getting the real-time access that they paid for. So the fact is, they don't want to pay Twitter for that kind of information. Meanwhile, this is a huge opportunity for Bing, and they already have a really good partnership with Facebook, pulling in lots of data from them. They pay for the fire hose at Twitter. I'm thinking this is this is a break point. If people don't like this experience, and your Google experience is like locked down to this weird social network that you might not like, it might be cool to some of us. Some people might not like it at all. This would be like, why would you leave Google? Because their search results are not giving you what you want for the first time. Now the thing is, if that actually happens, they probably will buckle and go, we're going to pay Twitter. And they've been trying to get to Facebook, and that deal just never gets through.
No, that's never going to get done. Facebook doesn't want to do anything to help Google. Twitter just wants money for the fire hose. But my argument is, go ahead and put the Twitter and Facebook results that you have in there. It actually will help you in your negotiations, because Twitter and Facebook will then see themselves in there. They won't have a complaint saying you're blocking them, but their results will be crappy because they don't give you the access that you need to have better results, and therefore it's in Twitter's interest to give Google a break on the access, and maybe Facebook will break down and say, okay, we'll give you some access as well.
Well, I mean, Google has done stupid moves before, and so this looks like one now. Because the other thing is, what I kind of liked about this is it takes away those advertisements. You'll see your personalized results up top, instead of seeing sponsored stuff for like who knows who's bought that spot versus like, okay, my friend thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion around this. I see this in the chat room, so I want to break this down. What Google is doing is saying we're going to put Google Plus search results in a separate area of the page, at the top where the ads are, and in the side, and different. And we're only going to have Google Plus results in there. And they think that's fine because they don't have access to the increased API of Facebook and Twitter. But there are free, publicly available pages that Google could crawl. That they are not, and in fact are in the regular search index. If you search for somebody on Twitter, you'll find them in the search results. They're just not including them in the social search because those results aren't as good. And I think what Google's saying is, well, I don't want to put crappy results in my search results. If I'm not going to get access to the API, I'm going to leave it out. And I don't, and I want to make sure that I respect privacy as well. It's a thorny issue, and it's only going to get thornier. Let's move on to the news fuse. Razer unveiled Project Fiona, and it's a Windows 8 gaming tablet concept, just like the Switchblade was. The tablet is flanked by 2 controllers with analog joysticks. Spec-wise, you find an Intel Ivy Bridge Core i7 inside. It's got a 10.1-inch screen, and Razer says a finalized version would run about $1,000 and could come out by the end of the year. Sound familiar? Last year they said the same thing about the Switchblade concept, which ended up coming out as the Blade laptop. A very different product in the end, but it'll be interesting to see what this tablet concept ends up turning into.
I'll predict it now, vaporware.
You heard it here.
You heard it here first, everybody.
In Intel news, a prototype Lenovo tablet is running the Medfield processor. So here are the specs. Beta hardware Idea Tab K2110 is an 8.9 millimeter thick, 10.1-inch slate running Ice Cream Sandwich, has front and rear facing cameras, SIM slot, usual array of ports, micro USB, micro HDMI, micro SD. The Verge noted that it also had an NFC logo on the back.
Samsung CEO Choi Ji-sung let the world know that Samsung will displace Nokia as the world's largest cell phone maker this year. Nokia is currently enjoying its 14th year as the world's top phone maker. However, Samsung is already the #1 smartphone seller and beat Nokia in revenue in its latest quarter.
14 years of Nokia on top, 14 years of Microsoft keynotes. Will they both end at the same time? That Gorilla Glass in your favorite tablet is about to get Gorilla-ier. Gorilla Glass 2.0 is 20% thinner, still as tough as the original, and the thinner glass cuts down on some of the weight. Additionally, the glass will allow for better touch response and brighter images, so future mobile devices will be thinner, lighter, brighter, and touchier.
The Dell XPS 13 has shown up to the Ultrabook party, although a bit unfashionably late, you could say. It's got the usual Ultrabook specs with a solid-state drive, weighs about 3 pounds, has a 13-inch display covered in Gorilla Glass. However, Dell says that this is a 13-inch laptop crammed into the same footprint as a 12-inch, so they're better. The XPS 13 launches soon, under $1,000.
BlueStacks demoed its software to bring Android apps to Windows at CES. To keep things integrated, the BlueStacks software allows for Android apps to live side by side on the Windows 8 start screen. The company plans to launch its product when Windows 8 launches and is working with PC makers to preload the app player on new machines.
RIM showed off Playbook 2.0, as we expected, the company's OS for its tablet, the Playbook. New features include an improved calendar and finally brings a native email app so everyone can stop making fun of the Playbook about not having an email app. The apps also have social integration, pulling in data from LinkedIn, Twitter, and others. The update will be available for download next month, when some people may even download it.
Maybe.
People will download it. On Live, the cloud gaming service is branching out by offering a virtual desktop service. You'll be able to reach a full Windows 7 machine via an iPad app. Basic service is free, but functionality is limited to Windows 7 with Office. You get 2 gigabytes of space for your documents as well. Paid tiers will also be available, which allows for customization. The service goes live this Thursday, January 12th. Apps for PC, Mac, and Android are all upcoming.
Intel is facing some heat after fabricating a demo at CES. The company claimed it was showing off a DirectX game running on an Ivy Bridge Ultrabook. Yeah, that wasn't the case. The demo was actually powered by a backstage computer. Intel later admitted to Anantech that the time constraints were the reasons for this measure.
Intel are on to some non-CES news. In an interview with All Things D, T-Mobile CEO Philip Hum said, quote, "There is no second AT&T deal around." Hum says T-Mobile has to restart its business, and details about its next steps will be detailed probably by the end of the quarter. He also indicated T-Mobile does intend to move to LTE, but they don't feel a need to rush into it, because they can't. He also expects T-Mobile to emphasize value plans that separate the data plan from the device.
Yeah, what else are they going to say?
I don't know.
We really need to get into LTE.
that'd
Our
be
future
awesome.
depends on it.
Yeah.
Twitter's announced a new program that allows app developers access to verified account data. Its first partners are music data companies like Rara.com, Rovi, Echo Nest. Echo Nest is building a music app that integrates tweets from musicians. So you can see the program would give Twitter's partners confidence that the tweets they collect are from legitimate sources, unless you're me, which Twitter will never recognize as someone who needs a verified account. But that's just me, right? All of you guys are verified, right? It's just me?
I'm not verified.
Okay,
I'm not
so it's all
verified.
four of us then.
None of us are verified.
All
None
right.
of us are verified.
Blizzard community manager Bashiak said via Twitter that Diablo 3 is coming to consoles, and its lead designer is Josh Mascaria. Apart from that tweet, there aren't any details. Now, Blizzard did tease the console gamers back in September, saying, "Yeah, I was experimenting with Diablo 3 coming to a console, but
I'm buying
now-
it.
I'm getting it free because I subscribe to Warcraft for.
Oh, whatever.
No details on the date."
You know, there's another bubble going on besides the tech bubble here at CES. It's
that?
the election bubble in New Hampshire. The New Hampshire primary is going on. Dan Patterson, who joins us from time to time on the show to talk tech, is actually on the campaign trail, and he's been talking to the presidential candidates about lots of things, including technology. Dan, you with us?
Hey, John, it's great to join you guys, and happy CES. It's really a joy to swim up from polling data and hear some tech news for once.
Absolutely. Great to have you on the show with us. I know you're real busy, so we'll try to make this as quick as possible. Technology-wise, things like SOPA, policy debates, net neutrality, any of that stuff coming up in New Hampshire with these candidates? And if so, what are they saying about it?
Absolutely not. As much, look, I love tech as much as you love tech, but the big issues of the campaign are the economy, the economy, the economy. However, I'm on the back of the bus for this organization called Americans Elect. And this is where, you guys remember when Leo was voted president of the internet?
Yes.
This organization is, and I don't speak for them, I'm not a spokesperson, I'm just traveling with them and covering New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Florida. But they are kind of trying to do that for the president, the president. Maybe Leo should run for the president. They're using this really interesting online nomination process, and they're actually on the ballot in 25 or 26 states. When it comes to technology, the real story of the campaign is not so much the candidate's focus on it. These are policy issues that come, 18 months or so in. It is how the campaigns and how traditional media are using social media and technology to reach their constituents, to motivate their constituents, and to unify the party. There's a really great Slate article. I don't have the link on me right now, but I can shoot it to you guys about how Mitt Romney used data mining to win Iowa. That, he didn't spend a lot of time, he didn't spend a lot of money in Iowa, but he won by motivating people and getting them out to the polls by hyper-targeting, using the same data mining techniques that we see Facebook and Google using. The Mitt Romney campaign was one of the first to really successfully use that.
Excellent stuff. Dan, I can't wait to have you back when we both have more time and availability. And I know you're going to try to press some of these campaigns to give us a little more information about where they stand on tech issues that are interesting to our audience. Thanks again for taking the time to talk with us, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Bye, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye.
All right, let's take a quick break. Come back with some calendar and with some emails. This episode brought to you by Ford, featuring voice-activated sync app link, allowing you to control select apps while you're on the road. Want to get some podcasts? You can just talk to your car and have it play podcasts from Stitcher. I've used this with Pandora. You just pull the little paddle and you say, hey, create a channel around Jonathan Colton. Creates a channel around Jonathan Colton. Play that Uncle Tupelo channel I got. Plays the Uncle Tupelo channel right off your smartphone. It's voice control Pandora in your car. You can actually use the OpenBeak app to listen to tweets. All kinds of cool stuff. So check it out. Sync App Leak, built on an API platform that allows Ford to continue to work with developers to add all kinds of apps into the platform. In fact, they are announcing more compatibility with apps right here at CES. Available in the 2012 Ford Fiesta, and you can learn more about about Ford app link at ford.com/technology. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today.
You ready for some calendar? Good, because I've got some. Nokia Lumia 710 has actually gone on sale in the U.S. a day early. It was supposed to be tomorrow, January 11th. That was the original launch date, but they announced, hey, it's today. And in other Lumia news, the Lumia 800 is hitting Microsoft retail stores in February.
Let's check what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Nathan in Vermont writes in and says, okay, everyone's talking about that unique laptop concept called the Nikisi from Intel. I think they deserve much praise for thinking outside the box. However, we shouldn't praise them too quickly. Now, the Nikisi, just so you know, is that laptop concept we talked about yesterday, that when you close the laptop, leaves a bit of glass open at the bottom with a touch screen so you can manipulate certain apps without opening up the laptop. Nathan points out the desktop from Sony is really similar to that laptop. It was introduced during the Apple all-in-one craze, but was also Sony's attempt to enter the media PC TV market thanks to video inputs. The computer had a fixed keyboard that would hinge up onto the screen, and you could only see a few inches of what wasn't covered on the LCD. Sony used this space to show beautiful artwork, a clock, and other nifty things like what the built-in DVR was recording, the weather, calendar, events, etc. Its primary market was small home office space, the kitchen, dorm rooms, and so on. Just wanted to share this with you. Thanks for that, Nathan. It's a good point to remember at CES. There's almost never anything new under the sun here. It's always a refinement or doing it a little better.
Yeah.
Reimagine.
Yes.
This time we won't fail. All right, next email from Brandon in Australia. Hi, TNT crew. Yesterday you mentioned that Intel was bringing NFC to Ultrabooks and that it would be really awkward to try and swipe your laptop across the terminal to try and pay for something. Well, I'm sure someone will give you the capacity to attempt this maneuver. I think most manufacturers will focus on the goals Intel and MasterCard announced back in November, which was to have your Ultrabook become a contactless payment terminal, giving you the ability to make online payments by simply touching your PayPass credit card or NFC mobile to your computer. No longer would you have to enter your credit card number, expiration date, and the security pin when you buy online. Just tap and go like you would a brick and mortar shop. Anyway, love the show. Looking forward to the rest of your CES coverage.
That makes a little more sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Thanks. Good explanation there, Brandon. Appreciate the email.
Thanks,
All right,
Brandon.
that's it for this episode of Tech News Today. Big thanks to New Tech for the use of the TriCaster out here. The reason we're able to switch everything and play all our segment intros and get freaking Dan Patterson from New Hampshire on the line is because of the TriCaster 850. It's like a giant TV truck, except it's sitting down there under Jason's desk. And believe me, Jason's tall, but you still can't fit a giant TV truck under him. You need a TriCaster 850, and we're using it on the go right here in CES. It's like having the studio with us, and all those capabilities let you broadcast, live stream, project, and record HD video all at the same time. To find out more about TriCaster, visit newtek.com, newtek.com. We thank them for letting us use it here at CES. Don't forget Tech News Today's Reddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. Great way to let us know what of all this avalanche of CES stuff you're interested in covering. Go there and vote on the stories, technewstoday.reddit.com. That's it for this episode. You can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT. Email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call. Our phone number, the lines are open, is 260-TNT-SHOW. Simon Dingle joins us tomorrow. See you then.